Watching video game trailers is something I'm quite fond of, and I often find myself returning to the ones for games I anticipate the most or I had a blast playing. I'll never forget binge playing most Zelda games from the very first NES one up to Wind Waker, and then witnessing the beautiful trailer for Breath of the Wild back in 2017. It ironically made me tear up cause all I could think was, damn, this is art. Fast forward 6 years later and those tears are back, but this time only in the title of the game, while after watching the trailer I suddenly don't care all that much about never owning a Nintendo console, if you catch my drift here. The only upcoming games I really look forward to are the Haunted Chocolatier and Silksong. I come back to the Silksong trailers an unhealthy amount of times, but unlike all the peasants coping hard, I'll accept that the game will release in 2026 and pray that this ends up on poorly aged things on twitter.com. Unlike me though, people seem very damn excited for Tears of the Kingdom as well as other AAA games such as Starfield, where everyone knows damn well we're talking about Bethesda over here, yet people see it as a comeback for Todd's gang. So it made me wonder, how much does hype influence us to make bad financial decisions? How long does it last? And which games handle it well and which ones fell off? Join me on a quick trip and hopefully by the end of this video this case will be solved. Damn, like a true detective. Act 1. The Bad. Just like the electrons flow from the negative to the positive side, so will our journey. Everyone likely knows what to expect here. Cyberpunk, No Man's Sky, Fallout 76, most new Ubisoft and EA games, unfortunately. What all of these share in common is the fact that they hyped up millions of confused gamers who are hungry for fun new worlds to explore and were given a small bite of what is bound to be the best meal of their life. But unfortunately, they got something from Subways. We need to talk about the different kinds of hype these games provide, so let's start from Cyberpunk. Yeah, I know, boo, it's been done to death, but bear with me. Getting famous actors to play important characters, being super cocky on social media, and generally investing in the marketing more than a game from the looks of it, it led to a complete mess of a launch. Say what you will about the game 3 years later after the release, but the marketing campaign was such a scam, yet it worked. Same sort of happened with No Man's Sky, except instead of big ego tweets and John Wick, they just kept lying about the possibilities the game offers in every interview and game showcase.
Is Earth in this game? No. Well, maybe.
Both are messy situations and there's a lot of videos that cover these, so I'll just say here that you don't really want to generate hype around features that don't even exist or a game that's unfinished. Now, as for EA and Ubisoft, they don't even show the gameplay. One of the most viewed game trailers of all time is surprisingly for Assassin's Creed Unity, which is literally just pure cinematics and no gameplay whatsoever. The hardcore fans who play for the amazing story are satisfied enough and buy the game literally on day one. EA goes a step forward even and hypes up football fans with new graphics and physics, which actually seem to deteriorate over the years if anything. But again, their target audience is blinded entirely. I actually have a story related to this, so story time with Snowy Detective, yay! Back in primary school, I mentioned to a group of people who really like football how the EA FIFA games can just simply be updated at any time, to which I got a reply that, and I quote, they cannot update the players to be in the proper clubs for the following season after transfers happen. Transfers meaning players being moved between clubs for a very serious amount of money. So yeah, I think this tells you a lot about the mindset these kinds of people have. You are part of the problem. The sad thing here is, I truly think all of these examples have potential fun games hidden underneath that never see the light of day due to devs getting rushed or just general laziness to improve a formula that gives money regardless. On paper, all the Ubisoft games actually seem dope to me. They have cool ideas, so it's a real shame to see them not utilize these worlds to their full potential. Act 2. Cashing off of nostalgia and current trends. As far as the nostalgia part is concerned, we've seen a rise in remakes and remasters over the years, some of which proved to be bangers, while others banged their head against bedrock.
Okay, homie, let's load this shit up.
People are always excited to see games they've played brought back from the dead in new light or ported over to a new platform, which by no means is a bad thing, but it again causes people to pre-order this with no hesitation, not even a second to think about the possibility of the end product being total dog shit or just not worth the price. Skyrim is a game that released countless times by now, and despite Todd thinks it's pretty funny, I disagree. It's just being ported over and over and over again with visual changes, and yet most of the bugs that define Bethesda remain. What makes the matter even worse is the fact that mods for the original Skyrim did a far better job way before Bethesda, both at patching the game's issues and making it look good. Skyrim Special Edition is worth for the improved modding ability, but graphic-wise it even looks kinda weird compared to the original Skyrim. Which brings me to a very mixed example of the anniversary versions of Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2. Before getting eaten alive by Zoomers, I just wanna say that I appreciate old games and sometimes feel like their visuals cannot be replaced with new cool graphics that show every skin pore on a character. With that being said, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary sucks dick. The terrain in some places is changed to a point where it actually affects gameplay in a bad way. The graphics themselves don't even look that good overall. Now Halo 2 Anniversary, hell yeah, now we're at it, and actually an amazing remaster with fucking insane cutscenes and visual style. To me, this is the superior way to play Halo 2, which is exactly what a remaster or remake should strive for. The other example of how nostalgia is used for hype is when games are marketed as spiritual successors to old games, usually made by the original devs of said old game. A prime example of this is Ukulele, if I'm pronouncing that properly, which raised quite a hefty sum of money on Kickstarter and rode on the wings of Banjo-Kazooie, but when the game released, people realized it kinda sucks and that A Hat in Time is superior. Now, regarding the usage of current trends, look no further than all the games trying to add Battle Royale somehow to them. Why did Fallout 76 need a Battle Royale, and why did they market it as the thing players wanted the most is absolutely beyond me.
Fuck yeah, we put a Battle Royale in Fallout 76. That's right. Nuclear Winter is a...
Entire games are made by copying a Big Boy game, but the plot twist is they have some mechanics slightly changed. I'm just tired of seeing IGN and others telling me about Stardew Valley-like games in my Google News section, okay? The thing here is, there's not one, but two blurry lines here between a straight-up soulless copy, poorly implementing a popular genre or mechanic, and just simply being inspired. I'm sure you can tell where I think Fallout 76 Battle Royale falls, but luckily they removed that shit from the game. As for Stardew Valley clones and similar, there's two important things I gotta say. 1. Gaming news on Google are not to be trusted, and 2. By no means is it bad to be inspired by another game. Although I do find it kinda weird when people list all games that are similar to their own on Steam. Fan games also technically use trends like content creators or other games to boost their presence, but in their case, I can't really see it as a bad thing, unless it literally leads to the game getting taken down and legal action taken. Yeah. But regardless, it's simply a work that shows appreciation towards whatever the devs are fans of, and if anything, fan games based on other games specifically go beyond the established core mechanics and style, and are generally also a great starting point for new game developers. Act 3. Wild Campaigns and Collector's Editions. Halo 2 again crawling, but quite literally. Getting the phone call, however, may require more effort. I Love Bees was a website that was seemingly dedicated to selling honey, but as the Halo 2 trailer got pushed to play with in theaters, people here started to notice I Love Bees quickly flash on one frame. As it turned out, players received coordinates and specific times after inspecting the website further. Those who decided to touch grass and reach the destinations listed found payphones and received a call right on time. This was all a giant campaign to promote Halo 3 even further, and unlike Cyberpunk, they had full rights to go all out with such a banger of a game, and honestly, I'm all for such a type of marketing campaign. Of course, we can't talk about video game marketing campaigns without mentioning Sega emotionally damaging Nintendo back before the dinosaurs.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free. What Nintendo?
Emotional damage!
With a series of clever marketing strats and actually fun games, Sega managed to become a proper rival to Nintendo, but unfortunately they flopped hard and reduced to whatever they are today. In a state where the Sonic franchise only gets a good game when the development is handed over to the fans. Their campaign is still a super fun thing to see, and I fully support these as long as the product lives up to the advertising. Now, as for the collector's editions, I totally get people love certain franchises a lot and must get all the goodies related to it no matter what, but truth is, the collector's edition was rigged from the start. It's even more difficult to handle refunding these, so you just have to pray the materials used for some of the items aren't cancerous. I can't really talk much more on this topic since I never had interest in this, but be careful. Oh my god, is that a real Pip-Boy? Oh, it's a Pip-Boy! Act 4. Indie games. On one hand, you got the games boosted to fame largely thanks to content creators screaming while playing it.
Was that the bite of 87?
While on the other, there's games that just have so much depth and uniqueness in them that they gathered a massive audience, and some even a cult following years after the release. It's without a doubt an incredibly difficult task to successfully create hype around an indie game, especially if you're just stepping into the wilderness of game development. Nowadays especially, the market is saturated as much as YouTube content is, which is super fucking ironic coming from me. But as for games, anyone can pick up a game maker tool and start creating what their heart desires. This leads to one huge problem where people get ahead of themselves and just recreate already existing games like Pong or any other arcade game and start a blog on it like they just discovered fire. There's several websites dedicated to users uploading and rating indie games, and even Steam itself puts in the effort to showcase the best. Well, I feel like most people don't really care. For this very reason, most developers that want more attention towards their game typically step into a contract with a publisher or begin a Kickstarter to give them bread and motivation for the future. In both cases, you need to be careful though. Not all publishers are Devolver Digital, and not all Kickstarters even have a game behind the project marketed. It's quite literally a minefield, which is a shame since it makes people super cautious about these games or makes the job harder for the devs themselves. And in return, we end up with hidden gems that will likely never be uncovered by more people. Act 5. Keeping a game relevant for years. Just like Team Fortress 2 gets constantly updated, so do a lot of the biggest games, and each update definitely brings hype to people since essentially you are getting a new experience. I'm actually pretty glad to see so many games still going strong with updates because it's pretty damn fun to be a part of the show as you wait for an update and discuss the changes with your friends. League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Dota 2 and other similar games go a step further and bring esports to the table to keep people even more entertained. Esport hype might be a whole genre of its own honestly, but it definitely helps keep a game going. As for the other less competitive games, I like to mention Terraria, which refuses to get an actual final update 2 years later. Power to the devs honestly, despite they already made a ton of content for the game, they keep making quality of life changes, making collabs with other games, supporting community made content, and keeping up with everything in a monthly post. With their efforts to bring the mod loader to Steam and integrate the Steam Workshop to it, all of the mods are more accessible than ever, so even now Terraria is equipped to stay relevant for years to come. Speaking of mods and community-made content, this is exactly why most of Bethesda games are still played by many people even years later. Their modding communities are insane and people love to start all new playthroughs with 100 new mods loaded. Bethesda doesn't even need to intervene in any way really other than give people the necessary tool. A lot of games simplify this even further by adding a level editor to the game so you don't even have to use code to make cool content. Player-made levels are typically given a spotlight and more often than not, they go hard. I swear Geometry Dash is still going crazy and has a constant amount of players for years, and coming back to it, I was amazed by the creativity of some players but also wondered how the fuck did they manage to make this in Geometry Dash. Act 6. Those trailers I keep watching. Skyrim, Fallout 4, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Batman Arkham Knight, Half-Life Alyx, God of War, Silksong. These are all the games whose trailers hyped me up personally and that I even come back to years after their upload. Other than Breath of the Wild as I mentioned at the start, Fallout 4 and Arkham Knight also hold a special place in my memory as I was unable to run these games back when they released, which was a big bummer honestly. I played all the previous games in their respective franchises and couldn't wait longer for a continuation. I finally got a chance to play both games in 2020, 5 years after their initial release. Was I still as hyped to play these games? Yeah, actually. And I had a blast. I was slightly worried both will not live up to the expectations due to the amount of reviews saying that the games didn't deliver as well as they should have, but I loved both. How good they are is a theme for another day, but what we could take from this about our topic is that gamers are hypocritical most of the time and will shit on other games for making the exact same mistakes as the games they love and regard as the best. I do urge people to take better care of their money, but on the other hand, you only live once, so if you really love Assassin's Creed that much, I'll let you cook. But I still think it's such a bitch. As for video game developers, please go remind Team Cherry to tell us the release date for Silksong if you can contact them in any way. And take your time to be creative both with the game you're working on and the marketing for it. Because who knows, maybe you'll manage to do something that Rockstar and... I'm ahead myself out.